Hey babies, hey babies and babies and babies and babies and babies and babies and babies. Hi everyone. What's up?
What's going on?
What's up?
How are you?
Going on? How are you, Callow? What's going on?
I am good. It's kind of light work this week in terms of sporting news.
Yeah, no kidding. Like I got to tell you, the timing of the Olympics for me, not great. Like this is the time of year I go full football brain. Like I need to get back into the thread line of what's going on here and pay attention. And then I just find myself in commander world and everything else is not only secondary, just doesn't exist right now. So, I'm mad at Paris. They picked a bad time to do that. They couldn't you have done this 2 weeks earlier? Just 2 weeks earlier, I would have been good.
So I've actually got a routine down for this now. And I'm going to miss it next week once it's all over, is I wake up and I have breakfast with Gold Zone. So if you have not watched Gold Zone yet, it's a rotating cast of Collinsworth Kid, Siciliano, and Hansen.
Well, I heard Siciliano and Hansen did it together.
Yeah, they did it yesterday, and it was like, oh my God, like all the NFL people were all freaking out because you were either Team Siciliano or Team Hansen, but you loved them both because the product is so good.
Yeah.
And having them on at the same time was amazing. But this is what I've done now. Every morning I wake up and I have breakfast at Gold Zone, and I'm watching, like this morning, there was beach volleyball, or yesterday morning, there was beach volleyball and like normal indoor volleyball rotating with like kayaking. And it was just like, they just go to every single one and it's amazing. And I don't know what's going on in any of them because I don't know how the rules work, but they just throw to them and it's fantastic. So I've had a time with it every single morning.
I feel like this is the first time I actually feel like I'm like Gen Z or something, because the only thing I know about it is like whatever comes across my feed. Like that's literally it. Like no context. I don't really know anything that's going on. I just see like clips. Like I've heard about this sharpshooter, like everyone's all decked out and he just shows up and he's like,
the Turkish guy. Yes.
Yeah.
The Turkish guy.
Or yes. Like I've heard about, the boxing, kerfuffle. I heard about that.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm more like paying attention to the U.S. women's national soccer team because of our connection to the Spirits. I've watched some of that. I know what's going on with basketball, but everything else is like lost on me. And if it doesn't like hit my feed, I'm out. And I like the Olympics. That's the weird part. I just feel like I'm locked in football brain and I just can't have anything else right now. Just can't have it.
I get you. There are three other storylines that I paid attention to. It's anytime Ledecky's on, I've looked at the schedule. I mean, she's done now. I looked at the schedule. Anytime Biles is on, like yesterday was maybe her last event ever. So I made sure to watch that. That was on Gold Zone though. Like I didn't even have to worry about it. And then here's the one that I want you to pay attention to. There's a sprinter in the DMV. His name is Noah Lyles. And
yeah, didn't he win by like a whisker?
Yes.
He win by like literally? Yeah.
Dude, he's my favorite athlete because he's a nerd. Like he comes out with Yu-Gi-Oh cards around his neck and he does like Dragon Ball Z anime poses after he wins. And he's from Virginia. He's from Alexandria. And the guy is just a big nerd, but he's the fastest nerd in the world. And he loves to talk trash. So for me, this has been like one of my favorite storylines. He's in action, I believe, tomorrow, I think is the heat for the 200. And he's funny. The book is out on him. He has these slow starts, but he's faster than everyone else. So that's why he won by a whisker for the 100 meters the other day, was because everyone knew he'd start slow. It's could he catch up? And then 200 meter, he was literally like celebrating before he was even across the finish line. So that's the other one you need to pay attention to.
This is very inside baseball story, but you'll appreciate it. So at a Commanders game, it was either last year or the year before, like CJ of all people was like, because we're in like the suite section. Like they gave us a suite, became our radio booth. So we appreciate that. Like that's what became our radio booth. So we're next to suites. And in one of them next to us, CJ is pointing at this guy going, do you know who that is? And I'm like, no, because I'm telling you, if you don't know him, he's so nondescript, you wouldn't know. Yeah. He goes, that's Noah Lyles, fastest man in the world. And he's from here.
Yep.
And I just looked at CJ and I go, how do you know that? Like of all people, if you know CJ, you wouldn't think huge track and field guy. Like you wouldn't figure that if you knew him, but apparently he is and was like all over it. And I'm like, well, bring him in here. He's fastest man in the world. Bring him into the booth. Let's do it.
I mean, I will say this though, CJ is always on top of people that are from here that are athletes. So I'm actually not surprised he knew that at all. I'm not surprised, but yes, that the same Noah Lyles, obviously. And he's awesome.
The only other thing I heard about locally was Tiafo lost, which I thought was, why wasn't he there? Like, I
don't know.
Why wasn't he competing in the Olympics?
I wish I could tell you how tennis works in the Olympics.
But why was he here during the Olympics? Like, why was that happening?
I wish I could explain tennis in the Olympics. It's probably the one thing I haven't watched a second of. I just have not watched any of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We'll talk about the Commanders here now. Well, let me change my little for you YouTube people. Oh, look at that. We're off the red, white, and blue, suckers. All right. Before I get into the latest, which they didn't practice on Monday, so,
right.
Not a report that's different than it was already out there. But I was invited to the podcast they do with Smoot and Michael Jenkins.
Oh, that doesn't sound unhinged at all.
No. So, and I went, all right, yeah, I'll do that.
You're stepping into an arena at that point.
I knew it. I'm like, do I dress like a matador? What do I do here? Like,
oh yes, Bram.
And then we walk in, they do it in the studio in there, and they're like, there's 3 chairs, like, sit in the middle. I'm like,
boy,
all right. I'm like,
set up. This is a setup.
I'm like, y'all, you think I'm an idiot. Like, I know.
Just walk down the aisle. Just walk down the aisle over there.
Walking. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And I'm like, so the whole time, I just kept saying to him, I go, y'all ain't ambushing me. I'm like, I'm just telling you right now. I'm like, I've been doing this too long. Whatever you have in your mind that you're going to do to me here is not happening. And then I thought about Smoot and I go, he doesn't pre-plan anything. Like, I don't know where this is going. Like, I'm ready for anything. And I'm telling you, we had way too much of a football discussion. So I actually want round 2 with these people because I went in there ready for warfare and didn't get it. Like, we were talking about Emmanuel Forbes and the offensive line. I was shocked.
Jenkins wasn't fake drinking or anything like that, was it?
Nothing.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
I don't know. I was surprised. I'm like, am I scary? Like, why did you guys not come at me? I thought for sure the only reason why you invited me here was to come at me. So anyway, so that's a challenge to them now. I did your show. I would do it again. Next time, bring it. Let's go. Bring it out. Let's go. Let's see what happens.
I mean, they're probably going to wait to do that when it's, preseason game 3 and there's nothing to talk about afterwards. So I will say, like, they might be setting up the ambush for you because next time you go in, you're going to think it's like that.
Well, I was on it. All right. Let's see what's going on. Lots of reports let's get on IG. Brandon Aiyuk might be on there right now. Could be happening any minute. It's back on, baby. Everybody's favorite summer storyline of a really good receiver who doesn't happen to be that good of a receiver, but he is thirst trapping this team hardcore, is back, and apparently, I think the report is more likely to be traded than to get an extension at this point. And there are teams linked in the report that were there that are hot and heavy to do it. And of the teams that were linked in the report, we're not named as one of them.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's try to figure this out. Could we use another receiver? I think so. Could we use one of his level? Definitely. Do we have the cap room to do this? We do. Mm-hmm. Does he love our quarterback? Yes. Does he know our GM? Yes. Do I trust him on the internet? No, not at all. Do we want to pay somebody that kind of money when we haven't done it the whole time since this all started? No, probably not. So what do you think? We go do it or not? If they're actually going to move him because they're so sick of this, are we going to do it or not?
I go full blown no, because in that report, it was the Patriots and who was the other team? It was Patriots and I'm trying to remember who it was. Pittsburgh. I can't remember. Pittsburgh. And there was one more because what it was is the caveat with the Niners was now we'll trade him, but you need to give us a veteran wide receiver back. And I think there's a reason now why the Commanders are not in this discussion because they would want Terry. And I don't think Quinn or Peters are in any kind of interest to trade that guy.
Neither am I.
Of course. Though, I want to bring this up. I don't know if you caught any of Kay Adams' interviews here on Friday.
I saw a couple, a little bit. Yeah.
She interviewed Quinn, Bobby Wagner, Dotson, and Duran. And when she interviewed Quinn, she, of course, asked him about Terry, and he like lit up about him. He was like, you can watch the film. I know who he was, with Dallas, whatever. And he said, though, I get to know the guy, though, behind the rib cage in terms of this guy has all the heart in the world and he's a leader. And I don't know if I've heard him gush about a player like that. And you know how they've been since they've gotten here, both he and Peters. They've said all the right things about Terry and Duran and John, basically the three guys that we all circle as the veterans. The way he talked about Terry, though, was like, that guy's untouchable. I mean, so that's why I think we're not in that report. I mean, that's
well, or like, okay. Well, let me throw out another name then. Okay. Would they want a decent pick and De'Ami Brown?
I don't think so. I think because they're Super Bowl contenders, it's got to be a legit veteran that they can go after.
Okay. So like New England's in this piece as like a team is hot and heavy for them. Yeah. What do they have to send back?
They have the former 49ers wide receiver, Bourne. Isn't it Bourne?
Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, that was the name that was linked that they would send back. And they would send a higher pick, though. Like specifically with Bourne, it was they'd have to give up a higher pick, but Bourne would at least be a piece back that could help them because they basically are saying, we want to win a Super Bowl this year. You've got to give us a piece back that those odds don't really drop, essentially.
Okay. So we got Jahan on a rookie deal, and it's only year 3. I ain't trading him. Like that's
neither am I. Nope, neither am I.
Like, so don't hit me with that either. Like, I mean, it's just he's on a rookie deal. Like, so he's an extremely affordable price. I'm not trading him for someone who's going to be triple the price. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not moving Terry. I've talked about this. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when Ben put that out there in The Athletic. Like, that's what I would, potentially offer because for reasons that made sense. Because he is running up against 30 now, because he does make a decent chunk of money. You will have to make a decision after this year if you're going to extend him really or not. Like for all of those reasons. And we talked about this, weeks ago when I'm like, I hope the timeline's on for him, but I don't know that it is because Jayden is, young and in his first year. And if it doesn't happen, CJ Stroud fast for him, Terry might not be on that timeline, and Aiyuk's a little bit younger, and let's call the difference in pay marginal, between the two if they could come to terms on something that's around the same price. So I'll hear out that reasoning for it, but I don't think you trade your heart and soul. I don't think you trade the guy who's represented the team the way that he has through all of this. I've now watched him through this offseason into this season. He's as into it as anybody that's on the field. He wants to be here. He wants to do this. He's not asking to go anywhere. He's got the exact attitude that Quinn is talking about with all of his players. If you don't I said this about Saquon Barkley with the Giants and Hard Knocks and all that. Like, if you don't value him, who do you value? If you don't value Terry McLaurin, I don't know who you value.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm not in that discussion. I was willing to hear out if Justin Jefferson isn't going to get a deal. Well, I hate it, but that guy is a difference maker, just a massive, massive difference maker. And if that's what we have to do, because it's a tough business, I'll hear something like that out. But this feels like a lateral thing to me at best, and I wouldn't even consider it. So I'm staying with Terry here if that's what the ask is back. If they're willing to talk about a really decent draft pick and say De'Ami Brown because they like him and they think there's an opportunity there and he's making no money this year, well, I'll have that conversation with them about that. We have 2 other veterans here with Crowder and Pringle now. Like, could we package a couple of them and send them back to get him here? Like, I'll hear that, I'll hear a trade like that. But for me, McLaurin's off the table. Like, that's a non-starter for me right now.
The other name, by the way, after looking it up, it was the Browns and Amari Cooper. So that's what they're looking for back. And that's the line. So I don't think a package of veteran wide receivers is going to do this. They want somebody that can be a number one. And it was funny looking at Cooper's stats last year, it was actually pretty similar to Aiyuk's. He had like
Yes.
maybe 200 yards less than Aiyuk did and a couple TDs less, but that same level of production. So I think they're gonna be the type of team though that goes, it's McLaurin or nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, that's why they're not in this report, because that was who they asked for, and they're going, nah, we're not moving on from that guy.
So, but I mean, why even put out there that we're open and willing to do it again? Like, why aren't they just shutting it down? Like, if they're not getting the people that they want and they're unwilling to move off, we want a really high pick. And the reality is they have a Super Bowl caliber roster and they might as well just, like, he's going to play. Like, he's not going to end. Like, this is how this always works out. He's not going to not play. He's going to get, his agent's going to talk sense into him and tell him, you've got to show up and play. And then you're going to be a free agent or franchised. And then we'll have all the leverage when we get there, but you're just going to have to do it. So I think in the end, I still feel like, why would they move him? But if they're just so sick of it because he's making so much noise, and the reality is I think he's good, not great. And they're probably sitting there going, who do you think you are? Like, what? You're not Tyreek Hill. Like, who do you think you, I think they'll never say that to him, but there's a little bit of that here where I get it. He's underpaid. I get it. He's really good. But the amount of noise that's happening with him seems a little much, which is probably why they're at least open to this idea again of moving him. Because if you're going to make this much noise for this amount of time, then maybe we just need to get you out of here. But, you know, if they're not willing to take, quote unquote, a deal, then nothing's going to happen. Nothing.
Well, in that report from NBC, I forget what they are officially called, whatever the Bay NBC sports article was, in that report too, it said that they were actually very close in negotiations with him. And then all the numbers started coming down. Like Waddle's number came down. The Eagles numbers both came down. And all of a sudden, he asked for way more. And that's why the deal now hasn't come through. And that's when he started making all that noise. So I actually do think
he wanted what Jefferson got.
Right. Essentially. And they weren't, but like,
I'm the one sitting there going, and everybody's saying it. He's not him. There's a difference. I mean,
sure.
Sorry.
No, I agree. But this is why I think this time around, it's not Aiyuk making the noise. I think it's the Niners putting out there, we're open for business, but you got to give us somebody back. So I think they're trying to get the talks back up, because I think what they're getting at is this extension isn't happening right now. And they must be so far off that John Lynch must just be going, someone give us a wide receiver and we'll happily throw you his way with a draft pick or something, depending on who
you have
that
to
wide
sign
receiver
him,
is.
and you're going to find out from him and his agent that they want Justin Jefferson money or something close to it.
And which is why I think, good.
Even if the Commanders want him, and it makes so much sense that they possibly would. Peter's relationship, Jayden relationship. We do need another high profile receiver. We have the cap room to do it. Like, we can eat it and do it with him and add him to this, but they're not. Why? Why aren't they doing it? They're not doing it because his number is outrageous, probably. And then if they give him that, what do you think Terry's people are going to say next year? They're going to walk right back in the room and go, really? Because we think we're the number one receiver here. And oh, by the way, this is your captain of your team, Mr. Everything for you. So you better make him happy now. And they're gonna have to make him happy too. Suddenly we got 70 million in receivers on a team with a rookie quarterback.
Right. Well, I think what's happening here too is I think they're letting teams actually talk to Aiyuk. I think because if they're letting it be known, get us a veteran, and then if you can get him the extension, we'll make the trade happen. This means that more than one team has at least talked to him. That's what I think, because if the Patriots and Browns are mentioned in this report, it tells me that they said to both of those teams, if he wants to come play for you guys, you got to convince him and you got to pay him. And if that happens, we're open for business. And that's why I think this report came down, because they're going, who else wants to step up here? Because clearly this guy is going to be picky. So we might as well get as many teams as we can, getting to talk to him.
Yeah. In the end, I doubt he gets traded. Like that's what I think it would have happened by now. I think it would have happened a long time ago, but that report popping up in the middle of training camp, right before the first preseason games, says they're at odds now. Like they're at a point now where they're just expecting him not to show up and to be belligerent. And if that's what it is, then, I'm sorry, but he's not good enough to do that. Like, I think they got a bigger problem with Trent Williams. If you ask me, like, that's the one they better figure out because he's the one that really is irreplaceable for them. Like, I think Aiyuk's a terrific player, but this has been going on for months. And then his behavior online, revealing stuff and just saying all these things he says, like, I know in the modern world, like a lot of athletes do this and they try to use it for leverage, and I don't blame them. His felt like it just kind of went on and on and on and felt like it just got to the point of complaining. And then when he brought us into it, like dragged us into it, like we're the hot girl he's looking at. And oh, by the way, I could date them. It was like, all right, buddy, like time to back off. We like you, kind of, we had a fun night. So like, chill out.
No, you're separated, not divorced. We can't move any further, guy. Like you're still in the same household over there.
Hit me up at another time. Like, chill out, man. Chill out. Like, cool it, honey bunny. A little much. So, I don't think he's coming here. I will tell you though, at training camp, there was somebody that had a sign up that says, "We want Aiyuk," by the way.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay, of course. I mean, whatever. Like, fans are going to fan. I'm not surprised. Is that his cousin?
Who's that?
I mean, look, there's a contingent of the fans that want him so badly. So I'm not surprised there was one sign at
I think he's a good player. I don't get the lunacy over him.
He's top 10. He's a top 10 wide receiver. I mean,
okay. I guess. I mean,
like tail end, he's probably 9 or 10, but he's
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson. Maybe.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson. CeeDee Lamb.
Sure.
AJ Brown.
Okay.
Is Diggs anymore? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Waddle of his caliber?
No, I don't think so.
Devontae Smith of his caliber?
No, I don't think so.
No, you don't think so? DK Metcalf. Yeah. Come on.
All right. Okay. You could say Metcalf. That's 8. That's 8. So 8. You got to name 2 better. So I think maybe. Top 10.
I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but maybe. Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
Puka Nacua, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, it's 1 year, but maybe.
Maybe. Like, I think he's good, not great. Like, that's where I think he is. And I think that's why they have this problem. And I don't blame him for wanting to get his money. Like, I'm all for that. Go get your money. I'm all for that. The way it's gone about it, it just feels a bit much. And I feel like if we were going to do this, it would have happened 4 months ago.
Yeah. I mean,
unless all of a sudden they're like, he wants $35 million a year. And if you're willing to give it to him, we'll take a 6th round pick. Like, and then in that case, right. I go, we're a lot better with him and we got the cap room. Let's just do it. Like, I would hear that, but that's not what they want.
No. And like I said, I think their number one aspiration is really like, we could do it with or without you. We need a replaceable piece back though. I think that's where they've landed now. We're trying to win a Super Bowl before we play. And by the way, this is all before they have to pay Purdy too. Purdy is literally the cheapest quarterback in the league at this point. Yeah. They're going, we need to go for it this year, man. And you're under the 5th-year option. We didn't franchise tag you. It's the 5th-year option. I mean, that's where I've landed on this too. It's such a difference. You could have leverage if you were franchise tagged, but in this case, your 5th-year option, you got to play it out regardless. But that's why I think they're actually trying to say, give us someone else. Then at least we have like the cap clarity moving forward. Like, that's why I think the Amari Cooper one actually does make sense. That
totally.
If they wanted to make that move, they'd go, fine, we'll take 3 years of Cooper and Debo. We'll be all right.
Yeah. Or, I mean, honestly, like, if the Cowboys weren't having to pay CeeDee Lamb, moving Brandon Cooks, because they have to pay CeeDee Lamb and they got to pay Dak and they got to pay Micah, they can't do it. So I don't know who it is that could pull this off that would give them something back that they want. Like, we want your number one. Like, that doesn't happen.
I actually think the crazy part is if you could re-roll the offseason, I think the Bills and them would be able to talk with each other. And they would say, give us Diggs for 1 year, because that's what the Texans did. The Texans gave them that restructured deal. That's basically a 1-year deal and are saying, prove it to us. And then you can hit the market.
He would have been pumped. He would have been on the Niners. He had a real shot to win there.
Exactly. So that's why I think if you could re-roll the offseason, I think all of a sudden those two would call each other, because then the Bills are going, we'll pay that guy. We'll pay Aiyuk. I think they would pay Aiyuk, because you're hearing I mean, yeah. And I would say
ready-made quarterback, need a number one receiver. Yes. Yep. It makes a lot of sense.
Right. And Diggs, the whole thing with Diggs, I think, was still an attitude thing. Like, I think they liked Diggs, but they were just kind of done with this shtick, which we talk every year. when's he going to post that he's coming to Washington, right? Like that was him every single year. I think with Aiyuk, it was a different kind of headache. He just wants to get paid. I think the Bills would have called them and said, we'll make this happen. I mean, they have crazy cap numbers, but I think they would have made it happen.
All right. Oh, we'll get into the Commanders and the Jets next. Bram, watch the show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Bram, watch the show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Well. Mr. Jayden's going to play against the Jets. Everybody's so happy about it. Oh, everybody's so happy about it. This one, not a surprise. Rookie. I mean, in normal times, you wouldn't even consider not playing your rookie in the preseason. And I would like to think that although Caleb Williams didn't play in the Hall of Fame game, that he will at some point in the Bears preseason. And I know Drake May will, because he's not even winning their job if you read the reports at this point. So they're going to have to figure that out with him. But I'm glad they're doing this. And I think it's the right thing to do. And I think when we get to preseason game number 3, I'll hear out the no, thank you, not necessary. But in these next 2, off a joint practice with both of them, I think it's the right thing to do for him to play in both of them, honestly. And I would even go old school here. Maybe not a lot in the first one, maybe a full half in the second one. See where we are when we get to that Patriots game.
I mean, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong here. I think we're going to see a rotation here. I think we're going to see like Mariota and him switch off in this game, because I don't think you want either one of those quarterbacks only playing with the ones or only playing with the twos.
100%.
I think you need to see both of them, actually. So I think we're going to get like a rotation in the first half. I think you're going to get both of them playing every other drive. And that way you get some rotation between the offensive linemen, the wide receivers. Like, because I don't like either one of them only playing on with one unit or the other. Even if Jayden isn't starting, I don't want him out there with the twos the whole time. I don't want Mariota out there with the twos the entire time. I want to see kind of a rotation of the two. So I think we're going to see them both. That's just my thought process. But I told you this last week. He's a rookie. You got to play him. I haven't seen really anyone say don't play him, but this is a no-brainer. You got to get him some playing time, and you're going to get him with all the scenarios that you want, in those joint practices. So for me, this was a no-brainer, and I think we're going to see a rotation of the two, and then a lot of your model from Notre Dame in the second half.
That's interesting you put it that way, because the way things have been going in practice, like Brandon Coleman, if you're watching, is like looking like at this point, he might be the starting left tackle, which would, I guess, is not a huge surprise, but 3rd round pick rookie winning the job, like it is a little bit. I mean, it's not like Cornelius Lucas isn't a longtime veteran, like we've talked about this for months where I'm like, I don't know that I would go with him for 17 games. That's why I don't buy it as their answer. But I also don't know that rookie's the right way to go. But as it's been going, he's been kind of winning the job. Well, if they're going to run him out there with the first team line, maybe I want to see Mariota back there on the just in case, because he's been around the block. If he has to get away from pressure, I trust him more to do so. And then when we bring in Jayden, maybe Lucas is playing left tackle with that same center of the line, the veterans that we expect, Cosme, Biotish, probably Allegretti. So I like this plan of yours, actually. Let's rotate this thing a little bit. And it's really about, to me, the line. Like, I don't really want to see him a lot with a line of backups. I don't know that I see the point in that. It's not what he's been doing in practice. I would rather see him with the starters. So maybe we're going to get that. Both Mariota and Jayden rotating around with this line. Then they'll turn it over to Driscoll and Hartman, and it'll be a preseason game from that point forward.
Yeah, I mean, I also just think it's the smart thing to do, because you also, once you rotate the other one back in, you're really definitively saying there isn't a starter yet either. Because I think we're in full blown. Quinn's not even going to tell you who the starter is going into week 1. Like I've
saying this line though, there's no secret. He keeps saying
sure.
Like he's vague, like everybody's vague, but it's almost like he's like, I'm not trying to fool you guys. Like and he just keeps going back to, we're going through a process. And I think we all know where we think this process is going to end. But if they don't feel like he's ready, maybe not. But that's the intention. They don't have to plainly say it, but it is the intention that he's the starter on day 1 if he gets there. And I think that's on him. Like the other day when he did the press conference that he did, I actually asked him, like they said to you, at the beginning of camp, we're going to know when you're ready and you're going to know when you're ready. Do you know if you're ready or not? And he said no. So,
Right.
I'll trust him. I think he's also humble and he shows a lot of humility, which is interesting for someone who won the Heisman Trophy, number 2 overall pick. Like he's got quite an interesting personality for someone who's gotten a lot of accolades and had a lot of success and is expected to be who he's supposed to be. But I believed him when he said it. I mean, like, maybe it's just in his nature. He's like, I'm never going to think that I'm that great. I need to just, be better, which great personality trait if that's the case. But it was interesting to hear him just literally say that, like, I'm not ready to go yet. And so maybe he's on board with the messaging.
Well, and I also think, I think everyone gets overhyped with practice, both good and bad. Like all these aggregate accounts are terrible now where they post like, oh my God, Daniel Jones is having a day today where it's a couple bad throws. And I guess with Jones, whatever, that's not shocking. But like a lot of these guys too, it is different when the lights turn on. And so for him, I'm sure they want to see, okay, you look great in practice. Let's make sure you do it on game day. Like the one I came up with on my show yesterday was, remember Justin Herbert, a top 5 pick, right? He was top 5 with the Chargers, I think.
6, I think.
6, whatever it was.
Something like that.
Remember he wasn't supposed to start because he looked so bad in practice. Mm-hmm. And then Tyrod gets a punctured lung. And he gets out there in the game, and all of a sudden they're like, "Where did this come from? This guy's a beast now!" Like,
or maybe the best one was the Texans in Watson's rookie year.
Yes, yeah.
Started. I don't even remember who it was. It was like run-of-mill white guy.
It was Davies Mills, your boy, wasn't it?
No. This was pre-Davies Mills. It was
Savage.
It might who played here? Who started over Haskins?
Keenum.
Yeah, it might have been him. I don't remember. It was somebody like that.
It was the starter the whole time too. Like the whole preseason into the week 1. Yeah.
He was terrible. And then they put Watson in, and Watson was amazing.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, why didn't you start him in week 1?
Right.
What are you doing? Why wouldn't you do that?
So I just think that's the territory we're in right now. I think these guys are smart enough to just go, he's earned the starting job. Like he's done enough to do it. Let's make sure he can do it when the lights turn on. And let's see if he can do it 1 or 2 weeks in a row. And he looks definitively better than Mariota. Like you're right. There is no secret. He's probably going to be the starter, but they're also going, he looks great in practice. Let's make sure he looks good against other teams when the uniforms are on.
He's had, it's so hard because I don't think they've had what I would call a full, like 11 on 11 football practice yet. Like they just, have, which I actually think is interesting that the first time they're going to do it is at a joint practice or like in a preseason game. Boy, a new world we're in. Like we're a far cry from the Oklahoma drill when the first time you're really going full on is in a game. Like we're just in a different space. So that'll be interesting to see that happen. But there are these moments, and he makes a couple of throws, albeit without a real rush, and he knows he's not going to be hit, and it's totally different when it's for real. But he's made a couple of them where you're like, whoa, and that's what we're supposed to see with the number 2 overall pick who won the Heisman Trophy. We're supposed to see these things. So I'm hoping we get glimpses of it, for however much they play them. And, I don't, whatever the outcome is on Saturday, like, let's see who the Jets put out there. I mean, I got a funny feeling not many of their star defensive players are going to play. Like, is Sauce Gardner really going to play? Is Quinnen Williams really going to play? Like, they're not playing Rodgers already. I mean, like, I don't think they feel like they need to. So it's different for us. So we're going to get way more out of this joint practice than we are out of that game. But it'll be interesting to see him put on the jersey, take a snap, throw the ball, pitch it around, throw it around the field. See that? Yes. Let's see. What else is going on? How about your boy Dimes who wants to start fights with people, huh? Your boy Dimes had a joint practice with the Lions and was like picking a fight with like members of the Lions. Dan Campbell. He's like, I'll bite your kneecaps. He's biting kneecaps now.
If your team talked trash about wanting to get rid of you for a month on HBO, I'd want to scrap and throw hands with the first person I saw that's not in my organization too. I don't blame him. Good on Danny Dimes. He's letting some frustration out. I don't blame him on this one.
Did you see the quote from Brian Burns?
No, what was that?
Daniel got jiggy with it.
Just totally downplaying that he wanted to throw hands with another team.
Jones is coming off a serious injury too, so
Fair.
But
I mean,
listen, I love it. I love it. Dimes is like, y'all ain't getting rid of me yet. Y'all tried. He's probably sitting there going, you wanted that Drake May, didn't you? How's that working out up in New England? How's that working out for you? You could have given up. You could have had to eat like $80 million on me, given up 2 first-round picks, and that guy wouldn't even be able to start yet for you guys.
I mean, let's be honest here too, though. Dimes has the built-in, I'm a quarterback. What are you really going to do to me if I'm going to start a fight? Like, that is your equivalent to the NHL kind of like score, like Crosby going, hey, come at me, when he's got a couple enforcers behind him. Like, let's be honest here too. Like, he wasn't ever going to have any hands actually thrown at him. I
mean, what if Campbell decked him? I mean, that's all time.
Campbell would have laughed.
End of joint practices for all time had he done something like that.
I think Campbell would have stepped up to him and laughed at him. I think that's actually what would have happened. Yeah.
He would have crushed a beer can on his head.
That's right. Exactly.
And then we had this. I don't know if you noticed this happened. We were on How Watch for a minute because Geno Smith, this was the most misleading thing I've ever seen. The other day, I see a report. It was like CBS Sports or something like that. And they're like, Geno Smith is out indefinitely as he undergoes tests for hip and foot injury or something like that, or knee injury, something like that. When you hear out indefinitely, do you think out for 20 minutes indefinitely? Because that's what it was. He like came back and practiced the next day. And I got into a semantics argument with Nikki Jabala of the Washington Post going, because she said, like, is Hal going to play it? I'm like, I think so. He says he's out indefinitely. And then she's like, good sourcing you have. He's back at practice today. And I'm like, if you write out indefinitely in the headline, doesn't that mean more than 20 minutes that you're out? Like, shouldn't I assume that meant he was going to miss real time?
Definitely would have thought a couple of weeks, bare minimum. The only problem, flaw in your story is Hal was barely beating, if he's not, PJ Walker. Apparently PJ Walker is better than him in camp right now. So
Sam, I vouched for you, man. Like when they traded you, all the Seattle people called me and I'm like, you're going to love this guy. What's up, man? What's up?
I'm telling you, dude, last year is the mulligan for everybody. Everybody sucked. Nobody was good. Everyone gets a reset, including Hal. I think Hal was more garbage than we think, too. He was just the guy slinging it 75% of the time.
You do know by Thanksgiving, he was still like leading the league in passes.
Yeah. And how many 100-yard games from our receivers did we have? Like none, I think. I think there wasn't a single one.
That pass run ratio last year was the most confounding thing of on the field. Maybe the most confounding thing of all time. And like just those first few weeks when we would bring it up and be like, why are you passing it so much? And they're like, don't worry about it. We're going to correct that.
Yeah.
And then they would come out and throw like 7 of the first 8 plays were passes. We're like, well, I guess they're not changing that.
It was Archer playing Madden.
You're showing us.
It was Archer playing Madden. I mean, Archer might have been a better play caller than this regime last year. It was terrible. It was awful.
All right, quick break. We'll be right back. Brad Bush Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Brad Bush Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, I got a couple stories for you that you'll love. Callow, Harrison Butker owns the libs. He becomes the highest paid kicker in the NFL. So, yeah, stay in the kitchen, sweetheart. I'm making all the money, baby. All of it, baby. Don't worry about it. All of it. Remember when people said when he gave that speech they should cut him? They just made him the highest paid player in his position. It's amazing.
You realize the Chiefs have like the most hated special teams room in the NFL, right?
Why?
They have that punter that the Bills got rid of.
Oh, yeah. But you know what, though? Like, didn't they drop that case?
They did. But I'm just saying, like, they got Butker. And they got
I got on tape saying it. I got him on tape.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
Facts. I got facts on him.
No, for sure. But also, they've also got that punter. I'm just saying, it's not a good look in the special teams room right now. But hey, if they win another Super Bowl, I mean, whatever.
It was so
funny.
What
it is.
When people were like, they should cut him, I'm like, yeah, do that so I can sign him.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
He was never getting cut. I mean, like
crap when he thinks about like married life. Can he kick them? He kicked 60-yard field goals in the Super Bowl. I'll take him.
Well, I was going to say too, he's a kicker. So the ceiling and the floor are basically the same. You're not going to actually do anything worse or better. Or you know what I mean though? Like the bad press for him doesn't do anything. He's a kicker. So it doesn't matter. Yeah.
No, this is America, man. You can say whatever you want. And if you're really, really, really good at your job, you're not going to get fired. Because if you do, you're just going to get a better opportunity somewhere else.
That's right. Exactly right.
There's like 30 other teams. The only team that wouldn't have done it is Baltimore.
Right.
They're the only ones that are like, yeah, we're good, man. We're good.
Right.
Everyone else is like, that dude kicked 70-yard field goals. They're like, he said some crazy stuff at a Christian college. They're like, end?
Right.
Right. All I'm asking him to do is kick that ball through those yellow posts over there. I don't need to ask his opinion on anything. What do I care?
Have you ever looked up how small that college was, by the way? It was like, I might be like totally off here, but I really think it was like 5,000 people. Like it was so small that it was like a Catholic liberal arts college, like something that just doesn't even make sense. And I'm like, he said whatever he wanted to say to that specific audience.
I remember thinking about it too at the time, and I'm like, who cares?
Yeah, right.
Why does anyone care what he thinks about marriage? Like, why do I care?
Right.
Wait, end? Like, I can ask the guy in the post office what he thinks of marriage. Like, who cares? Like, don't care.
Right.
Anyway, whatever. Let's see. Jim Harbaugh is refusing, even a year later, to admit he knew anything about what was going on with the sign stealing stuff, which means Connor Stallions is so 2023. He's going to go. This is a full Trump thing. It's a full, the election was stolen. This is what this is.
Yeah.
I am not going to admit to anything ever, even though the preponderance of evidence makes me guilty. Like, I don't care. I don't care what you show me. I don't care how many judges look at it. I don't care. You're wrong. I'm right. Deal with it.
He's also doing the equivalent of I'm over state lines. You can't do anything to me now. Like I'm in a different country now. So
I'm surprised it was even brought up again, honestly.
I mean, I think you have to, because Michigan literally won the national championship last year, and they're an amazing program and a brand. So, like, how are you not going to ask them? At least ask one question on it. But if I was Harbaugh, I would have just been like, "Hey, I'm in the NFL now. That's in the past," and that's what I would have left it at. But the fact that he was just like, "I'm not going to say anything because I didn't do it," or whatever the quote was. I mean, I'm not shocked. Harbaugh always outruns this stuff, it seems.
This was his quote at a press conference. "Never lie, never cheat, never steal. I was raised with that lesson. I've raised my family on that lesson. I have preached that lesson to the teams that I've coached. No one's perfect. If you stumble, you apologize and you make it right. Today, I do not apologize. I did not participate, was not aware, nor complicit in those said allegations. So for me, it's kind of back to work and attacking with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind."
I hate him so much. Like, he's one of my least favorite people in this sport. I can't stand him.
Unknown enthusiasm to mankind.
I can't stand him.
Was that scripted, or is that just come out of his mouth?
I mean, that's just the type of crap. The type of crap he says. By the way, like, it's already starting there. Like, have you seen some of the stuff with him in drills and stuff and some of the videos?
No.
He's doing like the sled pulls with the players.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like another one where, they flip like the huge rubber tires that weigh like 100 pounds or whatever. And like players have to partner up with somebody. So they do it for like 20 or 40 yards or something. Harbaugh's sitting there paired up with Herbert. So it's Herbert flipping the tire. Then it's Harbaugh flipping the tire. And all the quote retweets are like, "Yeah, this is so badass. This is so cool." And like, there's just a smattering of replies of going, "Yeah, let's come back to this in 2 years when this guy has said all the stupid quotes and they haven't won yet." And it's going to be the same thing that happened in San Fran where
I don't know, man. But I mean, like, he wins everywhere. He won at Stanford. Then he goes to the 49ers. They were in the NFC Championship 3 years in a row and in a Super Bowl. Like, how do you fire that person? Then he goes to Michigan. We made fun of him. Remember? Everybody made fun of the khaki pants. He did those dumb videos going, "Who's got it better than us?" Remember, he's doing that dumb stuff. Just won the national championship last year. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what his secret is, because I think he's a weird dude, but he's got the secret, because everywhere he's been, he's won. And it is actually stacked against him in a number of those places. Like, I don't think it's easy to win at Michigan. I think you can have a good team, not a great team. Like, I don't think it's easy, like, to win at that level. I think it's easy to win 9 or 10 games. I don't think it's easy to win at that level. He got them there. So I don't know what it is about him. I also feel like there's a Funny or Die bit where Will Ferrell's him. Like, I don't know. Like, I think he's a bit. Like, honestly, like, he almost doesn't seem real.
No, he's what's his name from I Think You Should Leave. Who's that?
Tim Robinson.
Yeah, he's Tim Robinson. Like,
I bet he could do him.
I bet he could do like alt Harbaugh, where he's just yelling, where he's just yelling stuff.
Yeah. What does Harbaugh do at the Home Depot? What does Harbaugh do at a park? What is Harbaugh at the pool? Right,
no, I want him Harbaugh at Home Depot, and like while the person's helping him, he's saying those inspirational quotes to them. Like, he's checking out with his safety glasses at Home Depot, and he's like, "You're doing a really great job. You're the best in the world at scanning this thing." The person's like, "Okay,
yeah, right, all right."
That's what I want.
Last thing, I just wanted to show this real quick before we go. This is, in my opinion, I think, like, maybe the greatest statue I've ever seen. Have you seen this? Like, look at this thing. Like,
yeah.
This was just put up in LA. It's Kobe Bryant and his daughter when they were sitting next to each other, and he's like hugging her, and the whole girl dad thing came up. And of all the sports statues that I think I've like ever seen, honestly, it might be the greatest one. Like, whoever thought to do this and like greenlit this and did it. I mean, honestly, it's just amazing. Really, it's stunning, amazing. Maybe the greatest sports statue I've ever seen. It's unreal.
Well, I mean, this is the legacy Kobe's already leaving behind. Like, he was already pining for women's basketball to like hit another level because he wanted Gigi to be in that, and that's why he was coaching that team, and like he was already supporting UConn and all this stuff. So I'm not surprised this actually became a thing. I'm happy that it became a thing. But we're seeing the impact of that already. So yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was cool. All right, out of time. Talk to you tomorrow. Brand Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital.